like people are afraid of money. People are afraid of spending money. You have to spend money to make money, especially when it's based literally on the scale of return. If you're making 7 times back, why would you not? If you're spending $1 and you're making $7 back, I think the math speaks for itself. So
yeah. Welcome to the My Wife Quit Her Job podcast. Today, I'm thrilled to have Miroki Tong on the show. Now, I got a chance to hang out with Miroki at Scott Hunningham's Merchant Mastery event at Shopify HQ in New York about 3 or 4 weeks ago, and I'm really glad that we met. Miroki is the co-founder and CEO of StoryEngineDeck.com, where they sell one of the most unique products that I've encountered in a very long time. They sell tools that help creators build stories, worlds, and characters. And you can think about it like a toolkit that helps you unleash your creativity. Now, in this world where everything is increasingly moving towards AI-generated junk, it's actually pretty refreshing to see a thriving company succeed in the creative arts. And with that, welcome to the show, Miroki. How are you doing today?
Thanks so much for having me. I'm super excited to be here.
Yeah, no, I remember when I think you were one of the first people I met at that event. And I remember you were telling me about your product, and I was like, wow, that's like a really unique product. I am very curious how you came up with the idea and how you sell it. And before we start, though, I hope I described the product correctly because I didn't get a chance to play with it. I know you had one at the event.
I mean, I think you probably described it the most beautifully out of a lot of folks I've ever interviewed with. So I think you'll understand what we do.
Okay,
perfectly.
great.
Yes.
Well, do you want to first start by just giving a little bit more detail about how your product works and who it's for, just for the listeners?
Yeah, of course. So Story Engine, the Story Engine, we create decks of creative writing prompts, which helps writers get unblocked, unleash your imagination, just providing you with endless possibilities, because we believe that creativity is like fundamental to the human spirit. I think it's very necessary. I think that's, even if we're not, like, I think some people say, oh, we're not creative. Everyone's creative in some ways, whether you're telling bedtime stories to your children, whether you love partaking in music or watching symphonies or going to movies, reading a book. We are all creative and we all strive and thrive in creativity. And without a creative world, we have nothing. And so Story Engine helps you just like find those endless possibilities. We have 3 flagship decks: Story Engine Deck, Deck of Worlds, and Lore Masters Deck. The first deck helps you create character-driven story prompts. The second deck is for building worlds. And then the third deck is for really getting interconnected lore, kind of like your conspiracy, like red string theory. It's like, here's a faction. They have this other warring faction. What is the specific location it happened in? So you can really craft your world from bottom up. Writers, of course, use our decks. We have a number of, amazing A-list writers who have used our decks. Hollywood writers have used our decks. People who play D&D. So if you ever played, did you ever play D&D?
I did. Yes, I did when I was really young. Just to be clear, for anyone listening, when she says deck, it's literally a deck of cards that help you.
In like a treasure chest box. It's like big. Yeah, it's big. Actually, if I was smart, I would have had a deck on hand. But luckily, my spouse had one in the corner of the desk. So it looks like this. So it's quite large. It's like a treasure chest. So, you can kind of really it's in this beautiful like hinge box. There's decks of like 5 cards inside. So you can you can kind of get a sense of like pull each card out, and then you can, depending on the deck, some of them you put next to each other, like this one you do. And then some of them you build little clusters, together. So different ways of using our decks. And physical deck, I think it's nice because in a digital world, actually that analog experience really helps, kind of like that tactile performance. It makes your brain work differently.
Right.
I know even personally myself, I've started doing more handwritten notes sometimes when I'm brainstorming these days.
Okay.
Because I find that different words, my vocabulary actually gets a little more broad. I'm able to rearrange ideas a little bit more fluidly, as opposed to saying, oh, I have to delete this, or I have to like put it over here in this Word document, or everything's just like connected with bullet points. I have a very engineer brain, so it's actually funny that I like the fluidity of the handwritten note, but because you have the cards, you can actually rotate them. You kind of really have that experience of experiencing every little thing and adjusting them as you like. So writers use our decks, people who play Dungeons and Dragons, the dungeon masters use it to create worlds or create NPCs in their settings. A lot of educators use our decks. So they,
Okay.
it's a really great tool in school, obviously for like youth to, let's say in English class, you can say, oh, well, here's one prompt and you can see how maybe 30 kids can all come up with a different story based on it to really show the versatility of one's imagination. Sometimes people use it in history class, even science class, to kind of get a sense of like studying ecosystems or ecology and just finding a way to make things more interesting for people.
Miroki, you said you're an engineer. Like, how did you get into this line of work? Are you a writer also? Or
I should say I'm a failed engineer. So,
okay.
I grew up with the typical Chinese family that really said you had to be a doctor, an engineer,
Yes,
or a
yes.
lawyer. And then I defied all my parents' expectations when I told them that I was going to become an actor.
Oh,
Um,
that's right.
so yeah,
Forgot about that. Yeah.
so I gave up going to school for engineering. Actually, ended up getting my theater degree, and I actually did an English minor as well. So yes, I am a writer.
Okay. Okay.
Hilariously, I hated writing essays in school. Hated them. But uh, and when I was in theater, I did playwriting as well.
Right.
So I am a writer. I enjoy and I love writing. I love the creative space.
Okay.
Um, my nutshell life stories. I did burn out of the industry in my late 20s. I kind of encountered all the roadblocks that one might encounter as a performer. Like oversaturated industry,
Yeah.
lack of work, really hard on your self-esteem.
Mhm.
Really like all, there's so much expectations on how you need to appear physically.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, it's also not an industry that was very diverse at its time. It still isn't, but it's making a lot of
It's getting there.
strides.
There's more Asians
Getting
in,
there, getting
yeah.
there,
Yeah.
getting there. But when I was in it, there really was not many rules for me. I was literally Asian woman in a business suit and Asian woman in nurses scrubs. I would say that those are the those were my bread and butter rules. Doesn't not much acting in that.
Sure.
Burn out of the industry. I went back and got my MBA. Got and then became a freelance strategic management consultant. Of which then Story Engine, actually my co-founder Peter at that time had asked me to consult for him, and a few years of working together asked me to join on as co-founder and business partner. So
Okay.
that's how I landed with the Story Engine.
So to me, and I remember when I first heard about your product, this sounds like a very difficult product to market online because it's so unique and it requires explanation. So how did you guys come up with the product and get your first sales?
So I think our story is a little bit different than maybe the standard like e-commerce
Hmm.
company per se, in that we started with crowdfunding.
Oh,
So
okay.
our very first, our actually all three of our decks were launched via Kickstarter or BackerKit, which is another crowdfunding platform. And the funny story is at the time when Peter launched the Story Engine deck, which was the very first deck, so the deck I just showed you, he was actually launching a book of short stories at the same time.
Okay.
And he was actually really focused on promoting his book because that was his baby. And then he thought, you know what? Like, I create this writing tool for myself because I myself was feeling at that time he was really dealing with some major personal life stuff and was really struggling and kind of lost his inspiration to write. And he was actually engaged in this really difficult lawsuit that he thought he would never get a chance to write again as a result
Hmm.
of it. And he thought, I want to find a way to invigorate myself. So he created this tool and he thought, hey, maybe I should share this tool as part of my Kickstarter. And everyone was more obsessed with the tool than his book. So once he kind of got over his ego, he was like, oh, no
Right.
one actually cares about my book. He realized that maybe there was something here and maybe there were a lot of other people out there who were similarly looking for something to help them overcome their own writer's block to things where they felt, when you're like a writer, it's kind of lonely. It's a
Yeah.
very solitary art. And I think a lot of people were just trying to find ways to get invigorated, get inspired. And I think that's why they kind of gravitated to the deck in the way that it was. And funnily enough, this was literally right before the pandemic as well.
Mm.
And so I don't know if it worked in our favor or not, because I
I'm sure
think
it did actually.
the
Yeah.
isolation we gave away a lot of free resources during that time. Like we wrote like Peter wrote a lot of blogs about how to stay motivated at home, how to find creative things to do with your children. We release a lot of free resources. So when I said we have decks for a lot of educators use our decks, we actually designed lesson plans. So
Mm.
teachers can actually download them for free off our website because we really believe in the education system. And we know that without some of the best educators in our lives, like we wouldn't be the creators that we are today. Peter, speaks very lovingly of his English teacher. I have some amazing English teachers in my life. So we have free lesson plans that teachers can download off our website to use in conjunction with a Dex at school. We created eco-friendly versions that people could print at home. We have PDF versions, so for a more cost-effective option, all sorts of things. So I think that's why people gravitate
Yeah.
towards it that much. And I think I think really that was like the beginning of the end, so to say. Not beginning of the end sounds really catastrophe. You know what? I should say this was the start of something beautiful, and that just kept going, I suppose.
So here's what's funny. I started my YouTube channel and I wrote my book during the pandemic because there was nothing
Oh,
else to do. So I think you
right.
guys caught it at a good time. I've never run a Kickstarter myself, but I do know that in order to get a successful Kickstarter, you already have to have some sort of audience, right? Because if you just list it and it's just kind of random. So I'm curious, did you guys have an audience or did it literally just take off and Kickstarter started promoting you guys?
I would say we had a little bit of an audience. That's like for certain. Peter, before becoming the now known as the co-founder of the Story Engine, he also did a lot. He also made a webcomic that I
Ah,
would say had
okay.
like semi like mid-tier fame, I guess, so to say. He had a good
Okay.
following, and he was a writer already. Mostly well known sort of in the convention circuit. So all of us geeks and nerds who go to like different conventions like Fan
Okay.
Expo.
Got it.
So
Yeah.
and I would say there's a little bit, but the thing is that it wasn't to the scale that the Story Engine or Deck of Worlds became. So Deck of Worlds, our second deck, was I think it became the world's most crowdfunded world building tool. That one ended up crowdfunding $1 million, and I
Oh
think it
my
had over
goodness. Okay,
six.
hold on.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
So that first Kickstarter, the Story Engine deck, how much did that one make?
250,000.
Oh my
So Deck
goodness,
of
that is
Worlds basically
ridiculous.
quadrupled
Okay.
it. It was one of those, like, I think by day 3 or 6, Peter's like, I don't even know what to do. Like, I don't know what to do, because it was not what was expected. It was not what he had asked for. It was not what he expected, even a little bit. And the thing is, you
What was
can't
the
do that.
goal? Actually,
I think he asked for 50,000.
oh my
So
gosh,
yeah,
that is crazy.
yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, like literally he was like, I don't know what to do. It's like people think it's success is this thing that we all just strive for, and we do. But sometimes when it goes far beyond your expectations, I think you get kind of hit with fear where you're like, how do I how do I do this now? Like, how do I accomplish this? How do I fulfill these goals? How do I satisfy these thousands of backers who are now expecting all of this from me? But I think the thing is, you can't just have an existing audience and do something this successful. I
Oh
have a
yeah,
lot of
absolutely not. Yeah.
I have a lot of friends with all sizes of following, some of them quite large followings, run crowdfunding campaigns that are nowhere near that successful.
And if you're interested in learning how to start your own profitable e-commerce business, make sure you sign up for my free 6-day mini course below. It's 100% free, and I guarantee you'll learn a ton.
I think having an audience is valuable in getting the ball rolling a little bit, but you need a great product. You need a great page. I'm sure many other experts who even talk about building an e-commerce store has already shared this kind of advice before. Without proper lead gen, without, investing in really good ads, without building a killer landing page, without a good founder story, without a great product, you still won't get very far.
Can we talk about this crazy Kickstarter that hit 1 million? Like, what are some things that you guys did to make it more successful?
I mean, the foundation I think was really important. Like I always say to people, if you don't love being on camera, learn, because no,
Okay.
but I mean, like the
Says the
video.
actor. Yeah. Yeah.
Hey, I was an engineer. I was so awkward. I was awkward AF when I was, you know what? Like I was not a good actor. I was trained into this. It would have been easier for me to still be an engineer. If I actually left my own devices, I am a hermit in a corner, like not like looking at the public, like don't want to be outside, would rather just be in my hidey hole. Um, But the thing is like people truly, I think people, especially now, I think more than ever, we're craving human connection.
Sure.
Um, I think years of us being isolated and locked down, no matter how introverted we are, like, so we are social creatures and we want to feel connected to people. And also, honestly, you talked about AI. In the rise of AI, where there's sometimes a lot of sense where we're not even sure what's real and what's not real anymore, to know that someone created something, and like the story engine, everything we create is human made. All our creative, we don't use Gen AI for anything.
Yeah.
Every image is either licensed by a creator, an artist, a photographer, or we even do some of the photography ourselves. Every prompt is created by ourselves and a team of writers. We work
Yeah.
with some great writers in Writers Room. Even all our marketing, we actually don't use AI for any of our marketing. Every newsletter is written
I mean,
by,
that makes sense.
yeah,
That totally makes sense.
yeah, written
Yeah.
by Eric, who's my spouse, full disclosure, and works for the Story Engine. Written by Peter. Everything we do, all our creative. So I think you have that killer founders video. I think there's a lot of like unpretty things that people should also have from the get-go, like your shipping. No, like even if you don't have a product in your hand yet, like measure it out, figure out the weight, use comparable products, because people want to know what they're about to invest in and how much money they're about to put down. So unless you're offering free shipping to everybody, you want to get a sense of what you're charging customers from the get-go, so they know what they're getting themselves into, and we communicate that very clearly. um, Always have your kind of like very lean budgets, like this is the bare minimum I need to succeed, and have your success budget. Like, what if this went gangbusters as we did with Deck of Worlds? Because one thing that a lot of businesses don't always think about is what happens when you're really successful and you can grow yourself into incompetence, right? When you're like if you have a lot, like if you're only trying to sell 100 decks versus 6,000 decks, that's more costs, more logistics. When you are really successful in Kickstarter, in crowdfunding campaigns, people start releasing what they're called stretch goals. So it's like, hey, you raised more than this, you've now raised more. What is the new goodie you're now going to give to someone?
Mm-hmm.
And because we were unprepared the first time, in the second time, we had, like, Peter was making up stretch goals, like on, just being like, I will make new lesson plans. I will design this cool new edition book. I like this new like guidebook. I'll create this new thing. And then 5 years later, we were still trying to fulfill them
Oh my
because
goodness. Okay.
they were all these little
Yeah.
goodies that weren't prepared for, and
Right.
demands your time and resource and creative energy. And the last thing you want is your backers coming back like a year two being like, so, we all hear these stories, right? The Kickstarter where you never got the product.
Yes.
And then the founders just disappeared with all your money. It's terrible. You don't ever want that. And if you want to be a company that is around for a long time, if you, as a human being, as a founder, want you to be around for a long time and not with a black mark stuck upon you, you want to make sure you live up to those expectations. So planning for that in advance is really important.
What about the marketing of the Kickstarter itself, though? Like,
I mean,
so how does one make 5x? Like, so you emailed your list probably.
yeah.
What else did you do? So you had giveaways, and then
We have
you
giveaways.
had the yeah.
We do a lot of lead gen. I think that's something that a lot of people who do crowdfunders don't think about. They literally
Okay.
think like the day you hit go is your day your Kickstarter starts. Absolutely not. You want to build the momentum leading to the day you hit day one. Because if you hit day one and you're not getting backers right away, people will start second guessing your campaign from the start,
Sure.
right? You want to hit it like a rocket ship. It's
Can you walk me through that process? Walk me through your lead gen process.
Okay, so I mean, we do quite a number of different lead gens at this point, because obviously we have an online store, we have a Shopify store.
Yep.
We're Shopify merchants, so we have our own dedicated newsletter for our existing audiences, and we do lead gen through that. We do lead gen through Kickstarter.
Okay.
We actually work with another so BackerKit, like I said, they're a crowdfunding platform, but they actually kind of started off as like a crowdfunding marketing arm. So we actually hire them on to do a lot of our lead gen for us. We put it out through ads, of course.
Oh, you guys are running Facebook meta ads?
Of course, yes. Yeah, we run meta ads, we run some Google ads, really focus on the lead gen. And then, the thing is one of the nice things about doing a crowdfunding campaign is if you're successful, it can compound. So you can actually go back to your previous projects and message people on that project saying, hey, I have a cool new project, come check it
Okay.
out. So you can bring them over. So always remember who every single pocket of your community is. um and I'm sure that, I'm sure people who are listening to this podcast have heard this advice before, but we'll say it again. There are never too many emails that you could send out. I
Sure.
think all of us as founders have this like, oh my God, I don't want to spam people. But I try to think about it from my point of view. Like, I'm getting so many emails per day, and there are things I'm genuinely interested in, then I just forget because, it just goes down my like list in a day. So I actually appreciate a reminder if it's something I care about.
Mhm.
Um,
Can
so
we
we
talk
do a
about the
yeah,
meta ads real quick? Like,
yeah, of course.
were you getting leads or were you driving them straight to the Kickstarter itself? Like,
So we do two things. So we do
okay,
leads at the beginning, and
okay.
then during the Kickstarter, we drive to the Kickstarter. We do really great ROAS. And we focus on it really hard. We generally keep to like a 4 to 5 ROAS.
Really?
Yeah.
Okay, that is nuts. So do you just run it wide open and let Meta find your people, or do you have very targeted categories?
We let Meta find our people, I would say, and I think like running Meta for Kickstart, like like Meta for crowdfunding campaigns is very different than our online store. I would
Mm,
say you have to monitor them a lot, because the thing with crowdfunding campaigns is in the middle of a crowdfunding campaign. So the average crowdfunding campaign is roughly about 30 days.
okay.
The middle part is pretty dead. Not very much happens in the middle. Like, you kind of get this huge, like, first 72 hours, and it kind of does this. So for anyone who ever is looking at running a crowdfunding campaign, don't panic. This is normal. You'd have not
Okay.
failed. But it is. That's why you need that really big lift right at the beginning. And then you're going to get another big lift at the end. But the middle is kind of this, like, I don't know, like, what do you call it? Like, simmering pot phase. You're
It's
almost,
like an auction kind of, right?
yeah,
The middle sucks. Yeah.
yeah. The middle sucks. You kind of got to do all the other work to prepare for the end, right? Like, if there's any time for you to be doing pivots, if you learned you made a mistake here, time to fix the mistakes and keep doing the ad. You still need to have that discovery out there. But your ads will die at that time. So the last thing you want to be is bleeding money. If
Right.
you just set your ads and you're like, I'll see you in like 2 weeks. No, because in that time you would have lost a ton of money. So you have to be ready to shut them off, scale them back
Hmm.
during key moments of the campaign, and then scale them back up in the end. So you have to kind of monitor them a little bit. But yeah, we do run meta ads, and they're very successful.
How much does a deck cost?
Um, Story Engine deck, I believe you think I would know the cost of my own decks. I think it's because we're Canadian, but we
Oh
do
yeah, no worries. Yeah.
but we price in USD, so my brain's constantly like trying to think about all the different conversion costs. I think Story Engine deck is $32.99, and
Okay.
Deck of Worlds is $42.99. Don't quote me on this. I'm
That's
cross
okay.
30
No,
story
yeah.
story engine deck. It is, oh no. Yeah, Story Engine deck is $37.99. Oh, look,
Okay.
we've gotten more. And then Deck of Worlds, I think, is 42 or $43. So and then Lore Masters deck is about 50.
So your cost per acquisition is like $10 or less?
Something like that.
That is amazing. I don't think I've really on a consistent basis, that's like really hard to do. Yeah.
Yeah, it's interesting because as you said, you met me in New York at the MMA meetup, and uh I know one of the things my colleagues often say to me is like your numbers are crazy. And I'm like crossing all my fingers and knocking on all the wood that, with the way Meta keeps changing things up, that we won't suddenly find ourselves struggling. Because I know it's constantly changing. There are days that are hard. We've felt the dips like everyone
Sure,
else.
of course, everyone. Yes.
Yeah, but I think there's a couple of things. Like, we work really hard at creative. We're always like putting out new creative, new ideas. We read a lot of customer like feedback, and not just the direct feedback reviews they leave on your website. We read the comments they leave on our ads. I'm always kind of keeping my eye out on what people are regularly asking us on our live streams. What is a repeated question that someone's asking over and over? And I go, we're failing at communicating this. So I usually take all of that, and when we sit together and think about our new ad creative, we go, well, here's the burning questions that people keep saying, and here's the things that people aren't telling us when we ask, but we can sense it in the atmosphere. Let's find a way to close that gap.
Okay. So meta ads it sounds like your primary. Do people even like what are even the search terms for Google ads? I can't what would they be?
I mean, so the thing is, and this is one of our struggles. So you mentioned at the beginning, that we create a unique product and it could
Yeah.
be a hard sell because, our decks, the best way to sell them is to demo them.
Yes.
We do one in-person event a year at Gen Con, which is in Indianapolis. It's North America's largest tabletop RPG convention and board game convention. Over 100,000 people go. They just like take
Wow.
over all of
That is nuts.
Indianapolis.
Okay.
It's nuts. It takes over all of Indianapolis. And we demo, we're just like, hey, do you want to build a character in 90 seconds? Hey, do you want to build a world in 90 seconds? And the second we demo it, it clicks. Um, and I find that when we were researching our own like search terms and we were studying up on our own SEO, a lot of people find us directly. So they're already looking
Okay.
up story engine
Right.
deck. They already know who we are. But that doesn't make it easy for us to find new people.
Right.
So because a lot of our writers tend to be genre based, like let's say fantasy writers, we say like writing tools for fantasy writers or how to create a great horror D&D campaign.
So your meta ads, they target all those different avatars, like different
yeah,
ads. Okay, got it.
yeah,
Okay.
yeah, yeah, yeah. So a lot of it's like like one of the ones we always do is like for dungeon masters, it's like, you're creating the same shit story over and over again. Your friends don't want to play with you anymore, but if you use our deck, you'll like have more friends. Like we had a meme. I
Right. Yeah.
don't
Yeah. Yeah.
like it's like SpongeBob. I think it was like Squidward or something. He's like sitting behind closed blinds and he's like peering out and you see SpongeBob like running with Patrick outside and he's like really happy and we like Photoshop the story engine deck like in their hands. It's like, this is your friends using our deck to play
I'm sure your ads, I
D&D.
mean, you guys are creative, so I'm sure your ads are amazing.
Oh,
And
I think we make some great content. Yeah.
okay, so we have the meta ads and then Google ads. It sounds like you're just probably bidding on your brand terms and maybe some keywords that you found that are working, but it's
Yeah.
primarily the meta ads. Do you guys do a lot of social media? Because I know you guys were filming a lot at the event. In fact, you filmed my friend Tony, right, in one of your
Yes.
skits. So are you guys very heavy on social media?
Oh yeah, of
Okay.
course. Yeah. Yeah, it's definitely our thing. Obviously some channels do better than others. We love our YouTube channel. I think when you talk about being able to explain things well, having these long form videos on YouTube is always the best way for our
Oh,
customers
so you do
to.
long form videos on YouTube?
Yeah, we do long
Okay.
form. We do shorts as well. Peter loves shorts. Peter got really into TikTok a few years ago. He actually had he had actually published a book of short stories, and his publisher had said, as an author, you should be on TikTok. And he literally like deep dive, like studied TikTok, went down this rabbit hole for I don't know a couple of weeks, and grew his TikTok to like over 100,000 followers in 5 days organically just
Wow.
by creating
Okay.
content. So he loves this stuff. Like he loves it. That really just piques that part of his ADHD brain that like loves that short form content. But yeah, we do shorts and we do long form. And we're very active on most of our platforms.
Can we talk about like the types of content you put on shorts? Is it product focused or is it just like building an audience and being entertaining type of content?
I think it's both. And even if we're being entertaining, we want it to be relevant to our
Okay.
work in some way. So it's not just about creating a random viral video that doesn't mean anything for the story engine itself, right? Because
Mhm.
then what's the point? Going viral doesn't necessarily like it. In this day and age, when everyone wants to be an influencer and everyone wants to be super viral, you kind of lose sight of your goal. And the
Yeah.
thing is that their goal is for people to use our decks and become big fans of our decks. So going viral for some random piece of content won't matter much if people aren't interested in our decks at the end of the day. So everything tends to usually focus around like getting stuck, being creative, using our decks. And our decks might not always be in the videos. Sometimes it is just about being creative. But we
Mhm.
hope that if, if someone's kind of getting intrigued by the idea of being creative, that they'll get a chance to learn a little bit more about our brand in the future because they either clicked on our profile to check out more, or maybe because they saw our content through, they're going to get another piece of our content in the future that sees something about our decks.
Do you guys plan out like the shorts or do you just kind of pick up the phone and just whatever's on your mind that morning?
Depends on our mood.
Okay.
I would say Peter is a genius at just like winging out new shorts all the
Okay.
time. And the thing is, our deck is great for that because literally Peter will do like a talking head video that's just like, let's create a genre mashup of Western and horror. And then he like
Ah,
whips out his decks and it goes bam, bam, bam. Like, here's, you know, I created something. Look how cool it is. And he is so creative. So he'll see his like little prompting. It's like, oh, I'm gonna create the story about this like tortured, I don't know, cowboy who is in this post-apocalyptic city on like this planet. Like he'll just and then he's like, but then there's these like worms that live underground and they're starting to create earthquakes and the world is and like the world is ending, civilization's dying or something
yeah.
like that. So those are great for shorts content. I require a little bit more scripting.
Okay.
I would say that I like scripting out content because that means I don't run away with the work, right? It allows me to say, well, what do I need to? I have this idea. How do I get from 0 seconds to 60 seconds or 0 seconds to 90 seconds and tell you the story that I'm looking for? Especially when you want to be talking about your product as well. You don't want to be talking about your product with it sounding super pitchy as
Right.
well, right? It's like, buy our deck. Our deck is so cool because we want people to organically feel engaged and organically enjoy the decks with us. So I like the conciseness of scripting.
The more I think about it, the more I think your product is actually perfect for short form. You just go and just tell a bunch of stories, and you don't even have to mention your deck because you're using the deck.
Mhm.
And okay, all right. Can we talk about long form? Like, if you had to choose, would you do long form or short form?
As an elder millennial, I love long form content.
I mean, in terms of the business, like effectiveness on driving sales and awareness.
You know what? That's a loaded question because I think just because we love long form content doesn't mean that it's what easily hits in today's day and age and the algorithm.
Right.
So people, it's like if you're doing long form content, how do you hook someone so much that they're saying, I am going to stay here for 4 minutes, for 6 minutes?
Right.
Even I struggle with that. If the content doesn't
And
look
we all do now.
amazing, yeah,
Yeah.
like why would I stick around? We're all busy people. We don't have time. We need to know everything super fast. But I remember being told by several mentors at this point that's like, if the content is great, people are going to stick around. Don't obsess so much about the perfect 45-second video, the perfect 90-second video. If your video is 10 minutes because that's what you need to tell people something, make it 10 minutes. I think we have this 15-minute video on YouTube that talks about how to use one of our expansions. So we have these expansions. These are actually like the new ones we're launching later this summer. This romance one actually was
Ah,
most requested by our customers for several years
right.
and finally we decided to release one. But our expansions look like this. They're for usually different genres, but we have one for our for Deck of Worlds, which is about culture keyholes. So just little snippets of culture. Um, like let's say, I don't know, uh like what is the prayer that this village has, or what is the song they sing in a tavern or something. And there's just these snippets, so it's a little bit different than the way a lot of our prompt cards normally work. So Peter
Sure.
made this 15-minute video showing how it really works, and people love that video.
Hmm.
People love the how to's. In fact, I've sort of said that we probably should do one for every one of our expansions where we just get a little bit of a deep dive into every single piece of our expansion so that people can really get a sense of how to best use them.
Is your long form? Are you guys on a schedule? Is it very consistent, like every week? Or
No.
okay.
And
So the shorts are
I
though,
know
right?
it's not, no.
Oh, the shorts aren't either?
I know,
Okay.
you know what? And we know all that it's funny because so you mentioned Tony. Tony like looked at us in the eyes in New York and said, "You should be going live every week." And we're like, "Yeah, but we want to sleep sometimes." We're notoriously bad. We sometimes like some the thing about being creative is all the rules. Like we all know the like
Sure.
to be a founder of everything, we know all the rules that we should be following, whether it's for meta, for content. And then it's like then the second thing you ask is how much time do I have to do all of this?
Sure.
So we really try hard to batch it so that it is more regular.
Mhm.
But I will fully admit there's times, especially when there's deadlines, we're in product development, or maybe we're putting out a fire over here. We have dry spells, and then suddenly we'll have like a batch of content where we're releasing it
That
like
makes
week
sense.
after
Yeah.
week after week. We're getting better. I would say we're getting better. At least like we're not having these like long droughts. It's like, oh, maybe we're gone for like a week and a half, 2 weeks. The social train keeps running, just so you know. Like
Sure.
it's usually the video content that is the most demanding
Of
and
course.
sometimes tends to fall off a little bit.
All right, let me ask you this. I mean, since you have a very creative product, like what advice would you give people listening who actually want to launch a creative focused product, maybe even on Kickstarter? Like, what would you tell them? Because I teach a class and I know that the types of products that you're selling very successfully are actually quite hard to get off its feet.
They are really hard. Like I'm not gonna lie. Um, I'm on a few game publisher forums, and it's really heartbreaking to see um, how much a lot of them tend to struggle. There's a lot of R&D that goes into it. It's why Kickstarters and crowdfunding campaigns are so helpful because they really do front a lot of that R&D cost. And there's so much R&D to create a great game, a product. Everyone just thinks, oh, I can make a game, but it's not. It's really, there's so many gaps you'll learn. There's so many things in like the playing experience. Like there's I've picked up a lot of indie games in my life, and there's so many times I'm reading the rules. I'm like, I don't know how to play this game because the creator clearly didn't articulate in the rules enough. Or you play and all of a sudden you found like a loophole, you found a flaw, you found a loophole. The game becomes unplayable
Right.
over time. It takes a lot of work, and then there's a lot of development. So um don't lose hope is maybe probably the first thing I would say. The second thing I would say is like um over communicate. So like all when you're running a Kickstarter, that's the one thing I'll say is like when things are going wrong, like communicate it to people. People don't like people are not unforgiving. The reason why they're unforgiving is if you're not telling them that things are late or things are behind. We have fulfilled late on like a number of our Kickstarters. One time, like I think for Story Engine, the boat almost capsized, like so when it was
Okay.
like coming across the sea because it got hit in a storm. So things happen, but what they want to do is be rest assured that you're doing everything in your power to work with the backers at the end. Um, the other thing I'll maybe say to creators is like stop undervaluing yourselves. Like I think creatives have a very bad habit of undervaluing their work, undervaluing their time. And then what they do is when they do something like launch a campaign, they undervalue what they want to ask for. And then they end up fronting most of those costs at the end because they're like, oh, I'm afraid they're not going to buy my product, or I'm afraid they're going to get angry. Like I know the tariffs, last
Oh
year,
yeah.
all of us were in the middle of the tariff war.
Yeah.
There
Yeah.
were companies who literally said the moment this boat lands in North America, we're going bankrupt because we can't pay those tariffs. And then that's when the tariff managers started coming up like in crowdfunding campaigns. So it was like, okay, now you can charge your backers another 30%. And then you're like, how do I tell my backers that they have to pay another 30%? Um, but a lot of them try to eat the cost. That is not sustainable. If
Yeah.
you want to build a one-off project, great, go do that. But if you actually want to build a long-term business, founders like stop undervaluing yourselves. Like you have to get paid something. You got to make money. If not, then you better have a full-time job somewhere that's keeping you going until the day you quit your job. But like come up with every single metric, do your due diligence, do the math on everything. Like do your freaking math and build your budget. I think that's actually where there's often shortfalls is people do not budget out what they're looking for. Maybe they're only budgeting out material costs. They don't think about marketing. They don't think about the maybe the artists or the writers they're going to hire. They don't think about what the shipping and fulfillment costs are going to be. And next thing you know, you've lost money at the end of the campaign.
What about just getting backers? What about getting $1 million worth of backers? What advice would you give there?
Build a great product, test your product and test it again. I mean, we
So you
do.
really think that it was because I know the product obviously carried it through to $1 million, but in the beginning to jumpstart it, would you recommend that new people just work on building an audience first, social and lead up to it, or
I mean, it's so hard because the thing is like I I think maybe, I don't you can like yes, build your audience. The thing is again, like I said, like unless you want to spend years building your audience from scratch, getting them really to get to know you, which you can.
yeah,
But most of the time people are ready to go now.
yeah,
And the other thing is that maybe the great thing you're creating today is going to become oversaturated in 5 years. So do you really want to wait 5 years or do you
right.
want to be first to market? Um, if you have a great product, people will share it with other people. Kickstarter does pick like do they do keep their eyes out on great projects. So if the project is doing well, you will kind of get pumped up to like a projects we love. You'll get the projects we love
Right.
badge.
Yeah.
They will help do work with you. And similarly, companies like BackerKit, I always recommend if you're not like an ads expert, leverage someone like BackerKit. They take a percentage, so it's only your costs are scalable based on your success.
Hmm.
And they know how to do it.
Right.
So that'll take some work off your plate. It's actually so many creators I know will actually tell like companies like Backer be like, I don't want you to spend more than $5,000 right now. And they're like, but the ROAS is 7. They're like, no, I don't want to spend more. And I think that's crazy. If your ROAS is 7, scale. You're making
I mean,
7
that's
times that
unheard
back.
of.
No, like
It's
that's literally what they're so constrained, so you know what? Maybe the thing is, don't be afraid of money. Like, people are afraid of money. People are afraid of spending money. You have to spend money to make money, especially when it's based literally on the scale of return. If you're making 7 times back, why would you not? If you're spending $1 and you're making $7 back, I think the math speaks for itself. So,
yeah.
creators or people out there, like, don't be afraid to scale if the return is good, and leverage them. That's how you grow your audience. Honestly, if you talked about growing your audience, that's how you grow your audience.
Before we end this interview, I am curious. So when you were doing those Kickstarters, what was like the winning ad that drove a lot of sales?
I don't know.
You don't know. Okay. Was it a
I
video? Was
really,
it an image? Was it a lot of description or
I think they work holistically, is what I'll
okay.
say. So don't ever pick one winner. I think everyone, everything works together. So if they saw this static ad one time, the video ad is going to be more entertaining. Or maybe they got entertained by the video short because it's short, it's snappy, it's funny. And then they go and look at a catalog ad, or they look at like a descriptive static ad later that gives you all the information you need. I think they all perform together.
Hmm.
So if you're building ads, like the one thing I'll always say for anyone doing ads, like don't skimp on the creative. Build all the different types: long form, short form, you know, long text, short text.
Yeah.
It all works in different ways. Try different like call to action headlines. Do it all. You need as much as you can so that the magic algorithm can send it into the right spaces.
And how often are you refreshing your creatives?
I think we refresh them at least every month.
Every month. Okay. Oh, that's not that often actually. I usually do once a week.
Yeah.
Uh, but
That's
my
that's a
my
lot. That's a
mine
lot.
probably are not as extensive as yours. But Murky, for all the creatives out there, where can people find more about your product, and what are all your social media handles so we can check out your content?
Yeah, so you can find us at storyenginedeck.com, and you can find us at Story Engine Deck on all the social channels: YouTube, Facebook, Instagram, Threads, TikTok,
Goodness. Okay.
Blue Sky, Pinterest, even though we don't really do Pinterest anymore, but it's there. All the things. If the platform exists, we're probably on there at Story Engine Deck.
Awesome. Well, Miroki, it was a pleasure meeting you. Pleasure having you on. And it just makes me happy that non AI creative stuff is still out there and being successful. I mean, because lately, when I look at my LinkedIn feed, I look at my Facebook feed, I can tell, I can spot AI from a mile away now,
Yeah,
you
so
know,
could I. The
and it
newsletters kill
bothers
me.
me.
The
Yeah,
newsletters kill me.
yeah,
Yes, the link posts kill me. And I think like that's why we're craving it. Like, human creativity will always be there. We strive for it. We long for it. No matter how much we think a tool like AI will serve us in some ways. I think it'll hit a plateau, and then the cream of the cream of the cream is gonna rise to the top. I'm reminded of the days when Canva first came into play, and it really democratized social media for a lot of people who couldn't do graphic design, and that was great. Helps a small business out. If you don't have time to do, if you're not a Photoshop expert, great. But over time, everyone got very bored of every single like soft beige color thing with like an archway,
yeah.
right, with a nice serif font. And that's when the best graphic designers came to the surface. And we've kind of seen that kind of turnaround. And I think the same for AI is going to happen.
Cool. Well, thanks a lot, Miroki. Appreciate you.
Thanks so much, Steve.